Risk factors in suicide. Depression is one of the biggest risk factors of suicide. Most youth who attempt or complete suicide are depressed. This does not mean that if you are depressed you are going to be suicidal. It just means that your risk factor is higher and that you or your family and your friends need to pay attention to this. I think the problem with depression and the problem with why people kill themselves or why they go off the edge is because they can't see that eventually everything will be fine. This will happen. It's gotta happen. No matter what situation you're in, whether it's going to last 2 days or 2 years, it's worth waiting to see yourself get better. Susan, 19. Some other risk factors for adolescent suicide include other mood disorders. As with depression, if you suffer from a mood disorder such as anxiety disorder or bipolar disorder, your risk for suicide is higher. Previous suicide attempts. Someone who has attempted suicide before is 100 times more likely to complete suicide than someone who has not tried it before. Feelings of hopelessness. Feeling hopeless and having a sense that things will never get better can increase your risk of suicide. Eating disorders. Adolescents with bulimia and anorexia often suffer from depression, and this increases the risk for suicide. Substance use. As discussed in the previous chapter, substance use can be considered a form of slow suicide. Drinking and taking drugs lower your inhibitants and can lead you to take life-threatening risks that can end your life. Psychosis. People who suffer from psychosis experience hallucinations and hear voices are at increased risk of hurting themselves, including suicide. Family history of suicide. Losing a parent or other relative to suicide can be overwhelming for an adolescent. It brings suicide into your life and makes it both a reality and a possibility. This experience increases your risk of suicide. Also, some researchers believe that there is a genetic link to suicide and that this trait can be inherited. Stressful life events. Witnessing violence or surviving a disaster can cause extreme stress that can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. Significant losses and separation. Feelings of worthlessness, loneliness, and rejection are often the result of losing someone you love through a death or a family breakup. These feelings can lead to low self-esteem and depression. Physical or sexual abuse. This kind of betrayal and abuse can permanently damage someone's sense of self. This can lead to self-destructive behavior, including suicide. Poor academic performance. Doing badly in school can affect your self-esteem and make your future look bleak. These feelings can lead to depression. Poor peer relationship, social isolation. Feeling that you don't fit in anywhere and that you don't have any close friends can be really isolating. This sense of isolation and loneliness can lead to depression. Family conflict. Fighting and conflict between parents or caregivers can increase your risk of depression and self-destructive behavior. Hearing about other suicides. It has been proven that the rates of adolescent suicide rises when another suicide is reported in the media. Issues surrounding sexual orientation. The struggle to come to terms with your sexuality can be very difficult, especially when you are confronting discrimination and social bias. For an adolescent who is homosexual or bisexual, these stresses can lead to depression and self-destructive behavior. Some things that can trigger adolescent suicide: relationship problems, breakups and rejections by friends, suspension from school and school failure, getting in trouble with the law, humiliation such as being a victim of bullying, pregnancy.